Good morning again. So I was talking about egalitarian, matriarchal, and matrifocal families, and I was going to try and lump them all together and talk about them in the generalization, but that doesn't work so well. So I'm going to try and focus a little bit on each of them to give a better idea of how they function, and also because at the end of that I want to give examples of how families in the United States today that wish to implement this sort of structure, this sort of way of living in the U.S. today have done it, and how you could potentially do it yourselves as well if you wished. So I'm going to start with the Minangkabau. They're really interesting because as a culture they turn to fertility and growth in nature as their model upon which they base their culture. They do this because it is the primary goal of the culture is the nurturance and the care of the young. And so by turning to nature, some of their examples are things like ferns, that's the word. Men consider themselves the protectors of their sisters and their mothers. What was the example? The way the fern frond curls around the seeds and protects them. So the men see themselves as the fern frond carefully curled around the mothers and children, which are the center of society, and that's why it's a very matrifocal society to my way of seeing things. The Minangkabau also have a saying, hang on a moment, all that is born into the world is born from the mother, not from the father. And so to them that means that the mother-child bond will be the strongest within the extended family, their sisters, their mothers, their grandmothers, that kind of thing. And consequently, they feel that's also the most effective means of ensuring that children always have a family, always have food, always have ancestral land, by making sure that it passes through the mother line. This is one of the problems with a patriarchal culture, is that the mother can have children with a father and they're living together, and at some point the father decides, yeah, I'm tired of this, and the father leaves, and the mother is stuck there with children. If she's been a stay-at-home mom, she may have nothing. That's a really, really tough spot for a woman to be in, because frequently fathers do not care about the welfare of their children. One of the biggest problems in the United States today, from the reading I've done, is that fathers will be told by the courts, you have to pay this much in child support, and they just don't. There are states that have passed laws that say, if you don't do that, we will garnish your wages because these are your children and you must care for them, even if it's only with money. But not every state does that, and the statistics on the non-payment of child support are kind of awful. But that's a subject for another time. By having a matriline that the children are living in, there is not a problem with fathers leaving. The fathers aren't there anyway. Brothers are not going to be oppressive to their sisters because they don't feel that they own them. They were raised together. That whole domination paradigm is never set up. And this makes for a much healthier environment, in my opinion, for the children. Also, in such a situation, you end up with a culture that emphasizes care and nurturance and protection for the weak so that they can become strong. I believe the way it was described in the book that I read was that brothers protect mothers and their children because they are like the newly growing rice plant. The rice plant may be very tiny and delicate, but if you care for it, then it grows up big and strong and can feed hundreds and hundreds of people over time. And that's the analogy from nature that they use. It is an analogy of protection and sustainability and nurturance rather than one of domination and oppression. I think this is a much healthier way to look at families and society, but I'm opinionated, and if you hadn't noticed that yet, you should look at more of my videos, I guess. But anyway, one of the things that the Minangkabau allow for and have space in their culture for, which I think is a healthy thing, is variance on what a family is. So, for example, yes, you have the desired cultural goal, which is to live with your family, your matriline, in the great house. But for the Minangkabau, frequently there are cases where members of the family have to leave their cultural lands and go work in the cities in order to make enough money to help support their families. In situations like this, they live either alone or with their spouses in the city, but they can afford their houses only with the help of the mother clan back at home, which is really interesting because this helps them set up in a better situation. Then when they make money, they give it all back to the clan, and the clan disperses money as necessary to make sure that everybody is supported. By sharing their money that way, everybody gets lifted. You don't have one group that is doing really well and another part of the family that is nearly starving. And it means that everybody, by everybody being healthier and stronger and better cared for and better nurtured, it means that everybody is also more productive, more emotionally stable, and I would think happier. I would think that would be quite the goal to aim for, I would consider. What this means is that every Minangkabau woman that has to live in the city owns her own home with the assistance of the mother clan. And that means that she's more secure also, even when she's not with her family, her extended family. All the clan's possessions are managed this way by the Matriarchy clan. What's interesting is they are administered by the clan mother, which is usually not the eldest, so much as the person that the entire family believes is the most capable. They want someone who will responsibly care and nurture for everyone in the family. It's not something that turns into a domination system, for the simple reason that if someone becomes aberrant in that way and tries to use resources as a means of control, the family will get together and say, this person is not doing a good job. Let's elect another person to be the clan mother. It is always a woman, just as the person that travels to give the word of the clan to other families is always a man. And that basically is a gender role, but the Minangkabau are very flexible in their gender roles. If somebody wishes to take a job that would ordinarily be taken by someone of the other gender, they tend to be kind of like, well, okay, if they can do the job, that's what's really necessary. Now, I don't know of any examples where there were men who were considered the clan mother, but I do know that such a situation would probably be a remarkable man, because, as I mentioned before, about the pengulu, the highest compliment that you can get in Minangkabau culture is to be like a woman. No, that's not right. I'm sorry, like a mother, which I find very interesting. I think that's, by stating that that's the pinnacle of the culture, there are certain characteristics that come along with it. Someone who is productive, someone who needs protection, someone who cares for others, someone who is helping the culture grow. And to be honest, I like that a lot more than having the pinnacle of the culture be someone who grabs all the resources and hoards them to themselves and is basically greedy and happy to oppress other people in order to be at the top of the social heap, which seems to be what our culture is teaching. Not a good goal, I think. So yes, that's one of the reasons that I am talking about these families, is I want to try and put out the seed of a new idea, something that is more caring, something that is more nurturing, something that I believe is a little healthier than what we have right now. Something that is a little more based in partnership than in domination, because domination is not working well for us as far as I can tell. So to return to the Minangkabau, I tend to wander off on tangents a lot. Sorry about that. It's just so interesting. I want to keep talking about it that way. But I will try and focus a little more now. So we're talking about the Minangkabau, and I just mentioned the clan mother. She and her sisters and her daughters, all working together, disperse all of the communal property. Women also are the ones that organize festivals and other public life cycle ceremonies. For example, marriage is a life cycle ceremony that's very well known to us as well. And these are all organized by women as well. And they are considered marvelous occasions to give reciprocal gifts, to keep the economic system balanced. If you are a very poor family, which doesn't really tend to happen, but let us postulate that there is a poor family. Say they had a couple of bad harvests. Then they would put out what they had to share with people, but other people would bring things as well. And it would become an occasion for sort of evening out the economics, to make sure that everybody is well cared for. The other thing that these celebrations allow for is the maintenance of multiple kinship relationships. So, for example, if I am distantly related to another clan, then at these public ceremonies, there is an opportunity for me and my sisters and my mother and my daughters to all remain good friends with these other people. And it happens in, simple ways, chatting with each other at these life ceremonies, things like that. But that's how they maintain the gift economy and calm, peaceful, social relationships. One of the interesting side effects of not being a completely agricultural society anymore for the Minangkabau is that they are becoming more integrated with the rest of the world. They're not an isolated group, but they still maintain their reliance on many of the old ways. So, for example, traces of the time that they were more agricultural remain in their songs, in their rituals, as well as a continuing dependence on the food that they produce that way, of course. And because women control the means of production, the principles of equality are maintained are consciously maintained throughout the society through these gift-giving rituals or celebrations that redistribute wealth as necessary for everyone. It's intriguing to see how they hold on to the past in their rituals, in their songs, but they still look forward to the future as a way to live in a slightly different way, but still to thrive. It's one of the things that the Minangkabau are very well known for, as being a very thrifty and productive and industrious people. And I think one of the reasons that they're known so well for that, and this is just me speculating, is because they take care of everybody. So if everybody in your family is well cared for, then there's nobody that's going to be homeless. There's nobody that's going to be starving. Nobody is stuck being unable to help the family move forward in the world. Everybody is doing well. Everybody is able to contribute. And I think that's a worthy goal. I think that's something that's worth aiming for. I'm going to pause there because I can hear my dog. I don't know if you can hear her nails clicking on the linoleum outside, but I think she wants to go outside. So we will see how this goes. I should be back soon, I hope.